There is a boundary at the edge of the human kingdom, marked by ancient stones and warnings carved in 3 languages. Beyond it lies the Orc lands, a realm of smoke, wild metal, and certain death. When Kale, a decorated 3rd Battalion commander, crossed that line, he carried no weapons and offered no resistance. He had been betrayed by the very crown he swore to protect. Exiled not for treason, but for possessing a conscience, for refusing to burn innocent women and children. The kingdom threw him away to be slaughtered by mindless beasts. But the stories were wrong. The orcs that emerged from the shadows moved with military precision, and they were led by Thara, a warrior with sharp amber eyes and a mind brilliant enough to recognize what the humans had discarded. In a world where honor had become an inconvenience, Kale stood completely still, staring death in the face without a single plea. That silent defiance sparked a chain of events that would shatter centuries of hatred. This is the story of a soldier who lost his kingdom, but found his humanity among monsters. And an orc leader, isolated by power, who saw the truth in a broken man. Together, they wouldn't just survive. They would forge a bridge between 2 warring worlds.
He didn't remember his name when they first brought him in. That detail came later, whispered through cracked lips in a language none of them understood. But names didn't matter in the cage. Only survival did. The orc warriors had found him half dead near the southern border, clutching a broken sword that wasn't his, and wearing armor stripped from a corpse. They could have killed him then. Some argued for it. But the laws were ancient, and prisoners had value, if only as examples. Now me tell you something. If you woke up surrounded by warriors twice your size, in a place where every face looked at you like you were already dead, would you fight? Or would you go silent and wait? Tell me in the comments what you'd do, because that choice changes everything. He chose silence, not the silence of fear. The silence of someone who had already lost everything worth begging for. They kept him in the Forge district, not chained. Chains were for animals, and the orcs didn't waste metal on the dying. Just watched, waited for him to run, to plead, to show whatever weakness humans always showed. He didn't. Instead, he worked. The first morning, he picked up a hammer that had been left near the cage. The blacksmith, a scarred female named Grath, nearly took his head off for touching her tools, but he didn't flinch, just pointed at a cracked anvil stand, then at a pile of scrap metal, then made a gesture that needed no translation. She let him try. By nightfall, the stand was repaired. Rough work, but functional. Grath grunted something that might have been approval and threw him a piece of dried meat. He ate it without thanks. The second day, he fixed a cartwheel. The third, he sharpened blades that had been neglected for weeks. By the end of the first week, other warriors started leaving broken things near where he slept. No one spoke to him, but they stopped looking at him like meat, except her. The queen watched from places she thought he couldn't see, from the war hall balcony, through the gaps in the armory door, from the shadow of the great stone where the elders gathered. Her name was Shakara, and she was bleeding authority. 3 months ago, she had led a raid against a human fortress that turned out to be a trap. 17 warriors lost, not dead, captured. Held for ransom the tribe couldn't pay without starving through winter. The council of matriarchs whispered. Her rivals circled. Every day she didn't bring the warriors home was another day her crown felt lighter. And then this human appeared, alone, weaponless, worthless, except he wasn't. Shakara had ruled for 6 years through strength, but strength was bleeding out of her with every council meeting, every challenge she couldn't answer. The law said she could be deposed if 3 matriarchs called for single combat. 2 had already made their intentions clear. She needed something, anything, a victory, a strategy, a reason for the tribe to believe she still held the gods' favor. What she got was a human who fixed broken things. It was Grath who first brought him to her attention officially. The blacksmith appeared in the war hall one evening, interrupting a tense discussion about grain stores. "The human," Grath said. "He understands siege engines." The room went quiet. "Explain," Shakara said. Grath dropped a piece of parchment on the table. Crude drawings, but unmistakable. Designs for a trebuchet counterweight system that could be built with half the wood and twice the range. "He drew this?" one of the matriarchs asked, skeptical. "He built a model," Grath replied, "in one afternoon, from scraps." Shakara picked up the parchment, studied it. The design was human, but the modifications were clever, efficient, the kind of thinking that won sieges, or broke them. "Bring him," she said. They dragged him into the war hall at midnight, not gently. The guards made sure he understood this wasn't a request. He stood in front of the council table, covered in soot and dried blood from a cut over his eye. Someone had hit him on the way. He didn't seem to notice. Shakara leaned forward. "You understand machines." He looked at her. Really looked. Not at her crown or her armor, but at her eyes. Like he was measuring something. Then he nodded. "Can you break a fortress gate?" Another nod. "Can you do it with what we have?" He glanced around the room, at the weapons on the walls, the maps, the supplies stacked in corners. His gaze stopped on a barrel of pitch in the far corner, then moved to a coil of chain hanging from a rafter. He nodded a third time. "Then you work for me now," Shakara said. "If you run, I'll hunt you. If you fail, I'll kill you. If you betray us, I'll make you wish I'd killed you quickly." He didn't react, just stood there, waiting. "Do you understand?" she pressed. He spoke for the first time since they'd captured him. His voice was rough, barely used. "Yes." One word. Flat. Empty. But he'd said it in Orcish. The room stirred. Shakara felt something shift in her chest. Surprise, maybe. Or recognition. "How long have you understood us?" she asked. "Since the second day." "And you said nothing. You didn't ask." One of the matriarchs laughed, a sharp barking sound. "He has spine, at least." Shakara stood, walked around the table. The human didn't back away, but he didn't puff up either, just waited. She stopped close enough to smell the forge smoke on him. "What's your name?" "Marcus." "Why were you alone, Marcus? Where is your army?" His jaw tightened, the first real emotion she'd seen. "Dead," he said. "Or worse." "Worse?" "They sold me." The room went very quiet. Shakara knew that story. Different details, same shape. Betrayal left a specific kind of scar. "Who sold you?" "My commander. For 300 gold and safe passage north." His voice was still flat, but something cold moved behind his eyes. "He told the fortress we were coming, gave them our positions, our supplies, everything. And you survived." "I ran. Like a coward." He said it without self-pity. Just fact. 16 men died because I wasn't fast enough to warn them. Shakara studied him. This wasn't a warrior. Warriors carried their failures like weapons. This was something else. Someone who'd already given up on redemption, which made him useful. "You'll work in my personal forge," she said. "You'll eat with my guard. You'll build what I need, when I need it. In return, you won't be a prisoner." "What will I be?" "Alive." He considered that, then nodded. She turned to leave, then paused. "Marcus, if you're smart, you'll remember that I don't forgive twice." "Neither do I," he said quietly. She almost smiled. The work began the next morning. Shakara gave him access to the armory, the forge, and 3 of her best engineers, all of whom resented taking orders from a human. He didn't give orders. He built. First, a battering ram reinforcement that could take gate impacts without splintering. then a portable bridge system that could span a moat in minutes, then modifications to their catapults that increased accuracy by half. He worked 18 hours a day, slept 4, spoke only when asked direct questions. The engineers stopped resenting him after the first week. Shakara visited the forge every few days, always with an excuse, inspecting progress, checking supplies, delivering new orders. Really, she was watching him. Because Marcus didn't work like someone trying to earn freedom. He worked like someone trying to forget. Late one night, she found him alone in the forge, hammering out a blade that wasn't on any requisition list. "What's that?" she asked. He didn't startle, just kept working. "Practice." "For what?" "Staying useful." She watched the rhythmic fall of the hammer. Precise, controlled. The mark of someone who'd done this thousands of times. "You weren't a siege engineer before," she said. It wasn't a question. "No." "So where did you learn?" The hammer paused. He stared at the glowing metal. "My father was a royal engineer. Built bridges, siege towers, fortifications. I was supposed to follow him." He thrust the blade back into the coals. "But I wanted to be a soldier instead. Thought it was more honorable. And now? Now I know soldiers just die for other people's engineering." Shakara sat on a nearby bench, uninvited. Her guards tensed, but she waved them back. "Your father would be proud," she said. "This work is good." "My father's dead. Pride doesn't reach that far." "How did he die?" Marcus pulled the blade from the fire, examined it. "The siege I survived. He was in the fortress we were attacking. I didn't know until after." The words hung in the hot air. Shakara understood then, the real weight he carried. "You killed him." "I gave the order to fire the catapults. So yes." He plunged the blade into water. Steam hissed. "Why tell me this?" Shakara asked. "Because you're going to ask me to break a fortress, and you should know that when I do, I won't hesitate." He met her eyes. "I stopped hesitating the day I burned my father alive." She should have felt repulsed, suspicious, wary. Instead, she felt something else. Recognition. 3 months ago," she said slowly, "I led my warriors into a trap. 17 captured, because I trusted intelligence from a source I shouldn't have." "Why did you trust them?" "Because she was my sister." Marcus went still. Shakara stood, moving closer to the forge. "She's leading the faction that wants me deposed. The warriors she helped capture, her rivals, strong voices who would have supported me." She stared into the coals. "She didn't just betray me. She surgically removed my power base." "Why hasn't the council moved yet?" "Because I still hold the loyalty of the outer clans. And because tradition requires 3 matriarchs to challenge me. She only has 2. So you need a victory. I need to bring those warriors home, alive. And I need to do it in a way that shows the tribe I'm still worthy of the crown." Marcus set down his hammer. "The fortress holding them. How strong?" "Stone walls, 20 feet high, garrison of 200, surrounded by open ground, no cover for approach." "Water source?" "Inside the walls. A well." "Supply lines?" "Weekly caravan from the capital, well guarded." Marcus thought for a moment. "You can't storm it. Not without losing more warriors than you'd save." "I know. But you can starve it." Shakara frowned. "They have a well. Wells can be poisoned. Or blocked." He moved to a clear section of the forge table, pushed aside tools, and began sketching in the soot. "You don't need to breach the walls. You need to make them open the gates themselves." "How?" His finger traced lines in the soot, a plan forming. "You make them think they're already defeated." Over the next week, Marcus worked with Shakara in private. No council, no guards. Just the 2 of them, mapping strategies and contingencies. She learned he'd studied under his father for 12 years before joining the army. Learned he could calculate load-bearing weights in his head. Learned he never slept more than 4 hours. And when he did, he woke up gasping. He learned she'd taken the crown at 19 after her mother died in battle. Learned she'd executed 3 challengers in her first year. Learned she played the war drum when she couldn't sleep, beating out rhythms that sounded like heartbeats. They didn't talk about it, the growing familiarity. But it was there. One night, after finalizing the assault plan, Shakara poured 2 cups of fermented honey wine, pushed one toward Marcus. "Tomorrow we present this to the council," she said. "They'll fight it, especially the proposal to use human tactics. Will they overrule you? They can't. But they can make it clear they don't support me, which is almost worse." Marcus drank, grimaced. "This is terrible." "I know. We make it from old honey and desperation." He almost smiled. "Almost." "Marcus," Shakara said quietly, "if this fails, if we lose more warriors, or if the plan exposes us to counterattack, I'll be deposed within days." "I know. And you'll likely be executed as a scapegoat." "I know that too. So why help me?" He stared into his cup. "Because you're the only person in this place who doesn't look at me like I'm already a ghost." The words hit harder than she expected. She wanted to say something, acknowledge it, but warriors didn't do that. Queens didn't do that. So instead, she raised her cup. To terrible plans and worse wine, he raised his, to borrowed time. They drank. The council meeting was exactly as brutal as predicted. Shakara presented the plan with Marcus standing behind her, silent as stone. 3 matriarchs opposed it immediately. Too risky, too dependent on human trickery, too likely to fail. Her sister, Makara, was the loudest. "You're trusting our warriors' lives to a slave?" Makara's voice cut through the chamber. "A human who couldn't even save his own people?" "He's not a slave," Shakara said coldly, "and his tactics work. For humans, we are not soft-skinned cowards who hide behind machines. No, we're warriors who adapt or die." The room tensed. Makara stood. "I call for a vote. This plan should be rejected, and a proper war leader should be appointed to retrieve our warriors." "You don't have the authority to call that vote," Shakara said. "I have 2 matriarchs' support. One more, and I do." All eyes turned to Elder Vrosh, the oldest matriarch. She'd been silent throughout, her scarred face unreadable. "Elder Vrosh," Makara pressed, "you've seen what happens when we trust outsiders. My sister's weakness has cost us before." Vrosh's eyes shifted to Marcus. "You, human, step forward." Marcus obeyed. "You built the siege engine designs. You created the plan. Tell me, why should I trust you?" Marcus didn't hesitate. "You shouldn't." The room stirred. "I'm a human who got his own father killed and his comrades sold. I've failed every person who ever depended on me." His voice was steady, empty. "But this plan doesn't depend on trust. It depends on stone, wood, fire, and physics. Those don't care who I am." "And if you're wrong?" Vrosh asked. "Then I'll die with the warriors I failed, same as always." Silence. Then Vrosh laughed, a dry, rattling sound. "At least he's honest." She looked at Shakara. "Your human has more spine than sense. I'll allow the plan, but if it fails, I'll support Makara's challenge." Shakara's jaw tightened, but she nodded. "Understood." The vote passed, barely. As the council dispersed, Makara approached her sister. "This won't save you," she whispered. "You're already finished. You just don't know it yet." Shakara met her sister's eyes. "Then you'll get to watch me burn, just like you wanted." Makara smiled. "I'm counting on it." Preparation took 2 weeks. Marcus worked 20-hour days, building the siege equipment while Shakara drilled the warriors in the new tactics. They barely spoke during this time. Too much work, too much at stake. But late one night, Shakara found Marcus alone on the wall, staring south toward human lands. She stood beside him in silence. "Do you miss it?" she asked finally. "Your home?" "I don't have a home. Everyone has a home. Not people like me." Shakara considered that. "What are people like you?" "Ghosts who haven't stopped moving yet." She wanted to argue, to tell him that was self-pitying nonsense. But she knew the feeling too well. "When this is over," she said quietly, "if we survive, you'll be free to go. I'll honor that." "I know. So where will you go?" Marcus was quiet for a long time. "I don't know. Maybe nowhere. Maybe it doesn't matter." "It matters." "Why?" She didn't have an answer that made sense, so instead, She did something she hadn't done in years. She told the truth. Because I don't want you to leave. Marcus turned to look at her. Really look. In the moonlight, without her armor, she looked younger. Tired. Human almost. You're a queen, he said. And I'm the human who fixed your broken things. When this is over, you won't need me anymore. Is that what you think you are? A tool? Isn't it? Shakara felt something crack in her chest. Anger, maybe. Or grief. You're an idiot, she said. Probably. I don't keep idiots around because they're useful. I keep them because... She stopped. Because what? The words stuck in her throat. Queens didn't say these things. But she wasn't just a queen right now. Because you're the only person in this whole damn tribe who doesn't want something from me. Marcus stared at her. Then slowly, carefully, he reached out. His hand covered hers on the stone. I want something, he said quietly. What? For this to work. For you to win. For you to keep your crown. He paused. And for you to stop looking at me like I'm about to disappear. Her breath caught. Why does that matter? Because every time you do, I feel like I already have. They stood there, hands touching, words hanging in the air between them. Then Shakara did something she'd never done. She leaned her head against his shoulder. Just for a moment. Just long enough to remember what it felt like to be something other than strong. If we survive this, she whispered, I'm going to make you an offer. What kind of offer? The kind you can't refuse. He almost smiled. Try me. She pulled back, met his eyes. Stay. Not as a prisoner. Not as a tool. Stay because you want to. And if I say no, then I'll let you go. And I'll hate every second of it. Marcus looked at her. At this queen who'd claimed him without ceremony, who'd trusted him without reason, who'd let him see her without her crown. Ask me again, he said. After we win. And if we lose, then it won't matter. She nodded, stepped back. 2 days, she said. We march in 2 days. I'll be ready. I know. She turned to leave, then paused. Marcus. Yes? Thank you for fixing my broken things. He watched her go, her words echoing. And for the first time in months, he felt something other than empty. The assault came at dawn. 50 warriors. 3 siege engines. 1 human. They approached the fortress under cover of darkness, setting up positions on the ridge overlooking the walls. Marcus had calculated everything, angles, trajectories, timing. The first catapult fired at sunrise, not at the walls, at the well house inside the courtyard. The projectile was a barrel filled with pitch, tar, and burning cloth. It arced over the walls and smashed into the well structure, igniting instantly. Smoke poured into the sky. The second and third catapults fired in sequence. More barrels, more fire. By midday, the well was unusable, and smoke filled the fortress courtyard. The garrison panicked, exactly as planned. They sent riders for help. Marcus's scouts intercepted them. They tried to dig a new well. Marcus had poisoned the groundwater table with rendered fat and sulfur. By nightfall, they were desperate. That's when Shakara made her offer. A single messenger, bearing a white branch, approached the gates. Release the orc prisoners unharmed, the messenger called, and we withdraw. Keep them, and we burn everything. Your choice. The garrison commander was smart enough to know a losing position. By dawn, the 17 captured warriors walked free, not a single orc casualty. Shakara's gamble had worked. The return to the tribe was triumphant, warriors chanting, drums beating. The rescued 17 carried on shoulders through the village. The council couldn't deny it, couldn't diminish it. Shakara had won. That night, there was a feast. Marcus stayed in the shadows watching. He'd done his part. The rest was politics. But Shakara found him anyway. She appeared beside him, crown glinting in the firelight, looking every inch the queen she was. You're hiding, she said. I'm not good at celebrations. Neither am I. She sat beside him, ignoring the shocked looks from nearby warriors. The council confirmed my authority, she said. Makara's faction has collapsed. I'm secure. Good. Which means you're free to go, like I promised. Marcus nodded slowly. I know. So, Shakara stared into the fire. Are you going? He was quiet for a long time. Then he stood. Shakara felt her chest tighten. This was it. He was leaving. She'd known he would, prepared for it. But knowing didn't make it hurt less. Then Marcus turned to face her, and knelt. The noise around them died. Every eye in the feast hall turned. Shakara's breath stopped. What are you doing? She whispered. Marcus looked up at her. You asked me to stay, not as a prisoner, not as a tool. His voice carried across the sudden silence. So I'm asking you, let me stay as something else. What? Yours. The word hung in the air. Shakara felt the weight of 100 stares. The shock, the scandal, a queen, and a human. It was unthinkable, impossible. She should refuse. Laugh it off. Send him away with honor and let it end cleanly. But she didn't. Instead, she stood, walked to where he knelt, and placed her hand on his head. I claim you, she said clearly, loudly. Before this tribe and these witnesses, you are mine, by choice, by right, by bond. The hall erupted. Shocked voices, angry shouts. Makara's face twisted in rage. But Shakara didn't care. She pulled Marcus to his feet. You understand what this means? She asked quietly, for him alone. That I'm not a ghost anymore. She almost laughed, almost cried. Instead, she did something completely unqueenly. She kissed him, in front of everyone, in front of the council, the warriors, the tribe, the world. And when she pulled back, she saw something in his eyes she'd never seen before. Hope. Welcome home, Marcus, she whispered. He smiled, a real smile. Took you long enough. The fallout was immediate. 3 matriarchs demanded a formal council. Makara called it a disgrace. Half the tribe argued through the night. But the law was clear. A queen could claim anyone she chose. It was her right. And Shakara had just proven she still held that right. Marcus moved into the royal quarters that night. Not as a servant, not as a prisoner, as her consort. It scandalized some, infuriated others. But it also did something unexpected. It reminded the tribe that their queen made her own rules, that she didn't ask permission, that she was, above all else, strong enough to choose her own path. Over the following months, Marcus became a fixture in the War Council. His strategies won 3 more engagements. His engineering saved lives. And slowly, grudgingly, the tribe accepted him. Not because he was human, but because he was hers. 1 year later, Shakara stood on the same wall where Marcus had once stared south, looking like a ghost. He stood beside her now, solid and real. Do you ever regret it? She asked. Staying? Marcus considered the question. Every day I wake up and remember I have something worth staying for. He looked at her. No, I don't regret it. She leaned into him. Good, because you're stuck with me now. I can think of worse fates. Like what? Going back to being useful. She laughed. Actually laughed. Below them, the tribe moved through evening routines. Training, eating, living. A tribe that had accepted the impossible because their queen had claimed it. And in doing so, had proven that sometimes the strongest choice isn't the expected one. It's the one that makes you fight for what you've chosen. Marcus had been the only human in a tribe of orc warriors until the queen claimed him. And in doing that, she'd claimed something else too. The right to define her own kingdom, on her own terms, with the people she chose, even if they fixed broken things, especially then. So that's how a queen chooses her own fate. Not through tradition, not through what others expect, but through the courage to claim what matters, even when the whole world is watching. If this story hit you the way it hit me, do me a favor. Subscribe, because I've got more stories like this one. Tales about people who refuse to stay invisible, who choose connection over safety, who build something real in impossible places. Hit that button. You won't regret it. Trust me on this one.